Welcome back to the Left Library, where we simplify political theory for everyone. Today, we're exploring Colin Crouch's Post-Democracy. Crouch argues that democracy as we know it is declining, and we're entering what he calls a post-democratic era. In a post-democratic society, democratic structures like elections still exist, but they increasingly serve the interest of the elite rather than the public. Let's dive deep into what this means, how it's happening, and what the future of democracy might look like according to Crouch. At its core, post-democracy is a society where democratic institutions exist in form but not in substance. We still have elections, political parties, and parliaments, yet these institutions are becoming hollow. Political decisions that shape our lives are increasingly made by powerful elites, with public influence declining. Post-democracy is not the absence of democracy, it's democracy in name only. In post-democratic societies, election campaigns are often managed by PR professionals, turning politics into a packaged product. Real public engagement takes a back seat to image control and marketing tactics, with elections now becoming a spectacle rather than a genuine contest of ideas or policies. People still vote, but their choices are shaped by carefully crafted messages rather than meaningful debate. One of Crouch's most significant points is that as democracy weakens, corporate power strengthens. Corporations and their lobbyists now exert more influence over policy decisions than ordinary citizens. This shift happens quietly, as governments privatize public services, rely on corporate funding to run, and embrace deregulation. They themselves become more dependent on corporate interests and thus more responsive to them. Corporations leverage their wealth to shape policies in favor, whether it's through lobbying, campaign funding, or media influence. This creates a situation where laws and regulations are tailored to benefit large companies, often at the expense of the public. As corporate power grows, politicians become increasingly focused on the interests of big business, and the average voter's influence dwindles. Crouch argues that post-democracy is marked by widespread disengagement from politics. Voter turnout is falling, public trust in politicians is low, and people are less likely to join political organizations. This decline is both a symptom and a cause of post-democracy. As people themselves feel less represented, they disengage, which only gives more power to the elites who face less and less public scrutiny. This disengagement isn't simple apathy. It's a response to a political system that feels unresponsive and disconnected from people's real needs. When people believe that their voices won't make a difference, they're less likely to participate, leading to a vicious cycle. Low participation weakens democratic accountability, and without active citizens, elites have even more freedom to shape policy in ways that serve their own interests. In post-democracy, politics transforms into something that we watch rather than something we shape. Crouch argues that political coverage is increasingly focused on personalities, scandals, and controversies instead of meaningful policy debate. This emphasis on spectacle means that politics is presented more like entertainment than an arena where real, impactful decisions are made. As politics becomes a show, citizens are encouraged to be passive spectators rather than active participants. We're given narratives and stories instead of analyses and solutions. This spectacle format means that the public is less informed about complex issues, making it easier for elites to avoid accountability and harder for meaningful public debate to actually take place. In post-democratic society, elections appear to offer different choices, but those choices are often limited to policies that don't threaten the status quo. Political parties, especially mainstream ones, have similar positions on core issues, particularly economic issues. They avoid any radical policies that could disrupt corporate interests or redistribute power away from the elites. This illusion of choice keeps people feeling that democracy is working, even though the range of policies they can choose from is narrow and primarily serves the interests of the elite. In this way, elections provide a sense of legitimacy to the system without offering any real alternatives. Crouch highlights the rise of career politicians and political consultants as a defining feature of post-democracy. Politics has been shifted from being a space for public service to a specialized career path. Professional politicians often lack a deep connection to the communities they represent, focusing more on maintaining power than on addressing grassroots concerns. This professionalization creates a political class that is increasingly detached from the everyday lives of citizens. Instead of a broad representation of society, politics becomes dominated by people who see it as a career rather than a duty. This shift distances politics from the public, reinforcing the sense that the system serves the elite interests over public needs. Crouch's concept of post-democracy is more than a critique of our current political system. It's a warning. Post-democracy shows us that democracy is fragile. While democratic institutions may survive, their substance can erode until they serve elites rather than citizens. The system still looks like a democracy, but its ability to represent and empower the public is weakened. This state of post-democracy raises serious questions about the future of democracy. Without active engagement and without limits on corporate power, democracy could become a hollow structure, a tool for elites rather than a platform for public empowerment. Colin Crouch's Post-Democracy shows us that the decline of democracy isn't always obvious. Post-democracy is a subtle but dangerous shift where citizens become spectators and elites quietly take over decision-making. It's a call to action, urging us to re-engage with democracy, push back against corporate power, and hold our leaders accountable. If we want a real democracy, we need to stay vigilant and involved. Thank you again for joining us at the Left Library, where we break down complex political ideas to make them accessible to everyone. If you found this helpful, don't forget to subscribe for more and let us know in the comments what you'd like to see next. Thank you.